can't even begin to stress to you guys how much I hate packing peanuts. It's almost right up there with guys that ship their amplifiers and don't put one screw in the cabinet lid, and then they're all upset when they ship their box over here and they don't understand why the lid's all bent up and the case is all bent up. And then I'm stuck fixing all of it. Creates 3 times the amount of work. Well, guys, I got to tell you, that translates to 3 times the amount of bill. I mean, I hate to be angry and mad, but it's like, Jesus God. We don't use packing peanuts out here anymore. And actually, I don't think they're allowed to use packing peanuts anymore. See, packing peanuts break up into a million little tiny fine pieces. And then you get all down in the electronics. God, I hate packing peanuts. I hate packing peanuts. Little pieces of styrofoam packing peanuts on everything out here now. It's on everything. Okay. Here's the problem, is this guy's got a double whammy. His box broke. And he says, hey man, I want you to fix it. I'm like, yeah, cool, whatever. This has got a giant X-Force in it. This little tiny box. Single packed, not double. This X-Force has got iron transformers in it. Now, I've been inside this box before. I did a huge overhaul on it. And from what I remember, I better save that box. This thing didn't look the way it looks now. Sucks. This sucks. Some miracle all the flipping switches didn't get broke off on the front. That little box had this amp in it. Not one screw, he double whammied himself. Not one screw holding the lid in. Not one. This guy is super smart. Very, very successful businessman. Smart man. Packing peanuts aren't that bad if they bother to put the box inside of a bag, or you put plastic wrap on the amp. They didn't do any of that. I mean, this is a simple fix, but son of a gun. Where'd all the fans go? Let me show you how disproportionate the weight is. Oh, we got a transistor top that's off. Look at this. That's got to go in a wood reinforced box or multiple cardboard boxes. Got the whole corners bashed in over here now. Son of a gun. And the whole amp is full of packing peanuts. Little hunklets of foam. Hold on, this is gonna get really loud. I gotta get my blower out. It's not just on the workbench. It's all over my floor, all over my computer keyboard, all over my chair, all over me. I get it though, I understand. It's the ease of the packer, I get it. Oh damn. Yeah, we definitely got a lid off a Toshiba red dot. An OL. Damn, that sucks. On-off switch is bypassed. Oh boy, let me get into this. I gotta clean the workbench up the rest of the way. Hold on. Okay. We're just going to get into the identification stage and see what we got going on. This is one I've rebuilt already. This guy is a very smart, very sharp businessman that owns this thing. A friend of mine. Okay, got all the packing peanuts out of everything. Let's start to identify what we've got going on here. I don't know what this is about. I'm going to reserve comment until I find out maybe he's got an external switch or something he's using, or something's gone wrong with these curling breakers, which I've never had happen, ever. So, 40 amp, 250 volt, 40 amp. Wonder what that's all about. Let's make sure there's nothing wrong with the switches. He might have bypassed them instead of shipping it all the way back. Switch is good. Interesting. Okay. Well, we've got one top off one transistor. And I think this thing's already had several pills in it replaced, if I remember when I worked on it a long time ago. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 pill. And there's our transistor that's missing our lid. Right down there in the center. Okay, so rule number 1, packing peanuts no good. Rule number 2 is if you ever ship your amp, it doesn't matter if it's an old Xforce like this or what, you always put all the screws back in the lid and the enclosure, because it's the only thing that gives this little tiny aluminum foil box any integral strength. If I remember correctly, the first time it came out, it got binged up here in a corner, and I think that's what's left over up here. I hope. Look, boys and girls, Dad found more packing peanut jizz. Yay. All right, let's call my guy. Let's find out what the hell's going on here. Okay, so I've been moving right along, and I forgot to bring you guys with me. I apologize. Well, I plugged it in, and we had ourselves a little bit of a short. That's interesting. So I got out the Variac, and I thought, well, maybe because the cord's been stretched on so many times, maybe it's shorted internally. So I went ahead and I removed the white phase of the 110, and I'll hook directly into the input, the primary side of the transformer, which is ground and then a single phase of 110. Okay. Then I went to try to run that up with a Variac, and it's still showing me as a short. Then I go and I test the outputs, and I'm not seeing a short over here, so we know the bridges are still good. I think these transformers might be toast, to be honest with you, which I'm trying to figure out how that could even be. I talked to the guy on the phone tonight, and he says, well, it's shorted out at the breaker, and then it quit working altogether. Okay. He put new fans in it, and the fan screws, I guess, made contact someplace in here, but I can't find where. And apparently took out this breaker. I don't think there was anything ever wrong with the breaker. I think something has gone wrong here with the transformers. So I'm waiting for the big iron to heat up. I want to pull these legs off to eliminate every and all last possible options, but I think the primary on this transformer, and maybe even on this one as well, are shorted somehow. And I'm trying to understand how that could be, because usually when these shit the bed, they let out a ton of smoke and they stink. But it's sure acting like they're shorted. I'd sure hate to see that be the case. But it's okay. I have a very, very, very suitable replacement that can go right in here if that ends up being the case. I'm pretty sure I can get one of these other transformers I have to fit in here and make it work. So I'll get back to you. I'm going to pull these legs off and we're going to test both transformers. But I feel fairly confident that we've got a problem with our transformers here. So we have the primary hooked into a variac. The secondary is now lift isolated. None of these bridges are shorted out. Nothing over here tells me that this is shorted, but then I go and I do this test. And we got good DC voltage coming out of the secondary. So we'll see if that's the case with this transformer as well. But I mean, I'm serious now. I'll put this on diode test. Come here. Come here. It's okay. We've done a YouTube video before there, voltmeter. It's okay. Nothing over here shorted. AC to AC is not shorted. AC to ground is not shorted. I mean, that's not uncommon though. Those little tiny worthless little rectifier bricks that are in there, they're junk. They're 50 volt, 50 amp. Supposedly 50 amp. I've never seen them last though. This brick rectifier setup that's in here, I've never had any luck with that. But when I tie that transformer into this and I start to put AC voltage on there, this thing acts like it's shorted. Let me grab up this leg over here and let's pull these secondaries off. Let's see what happens, because this is showing us as a short right now. That's interesting. Okay, so the way we got this set up now is we got the variac. We've got our output of our variac through our cord, our power cord. Come into here, this is our hot leg. Then we've got the ground hooked up to the case, voltmeter here on AC, and ground here. So you want to pay very close attention to this because this isn't going to last very long. Shorted. This is shorted. This transformer is shorted. Now, where is it shorted is the question. We had this exact same problem on the other side. Once again, because these two are all tied together, I should be able to go here. That's through the transformer, so it's going to show a short. That's AC to hot. Other AC to hot. Now AC to ground. Nothing. So technically the bridges aren't bad. But if I go in here, turn that off. But if I go in here and lift this leg off, hopefully this jumper's still good even though it's smoking, or was smoking. We'll lift one phase of the secondary out of play on the transformer. We'll come in, we'll tap this right here. That's a 0, turn this on. Still shorting. So we might have one bad transformer. Oh yeah. Oh. Oh, that's Krispy Kremed, man. This transformer is toast. Toast. throw that fusible link in the trash. Other couple fusible links in the trash. Jumpers. This thing's junk. Good junk. So here, I'll show you what I mean as soon as I get untangled here. Here, listen to this. Let me show you what I'm doing. Wire shouldn't move at all, and it sounds all burnt and crispy. Let's go look at its partner in crime. Solid. Okay, well, the secondary disconnected, we know for a fact that this thing is shot. So the $6 million question is, what can I slide in here to make this work? How can we modify this to make it work? Well, let's do a quick little autopsy on this thing. Oh, way burnt. Way burnt. You couldn't smell this burning, bro? You couldn't smell that burning up? It's all fried. Well, yeah, the primary and the secondary are burned up. This is our coating off of our primary wire that we're looking at here. So we got bare exposed copper. That thing's fried. Well, throw it in the trash, the F-it bucket. So, yeah. Pull that second one out, even though we know it's good-ish. I wouldn't trust it after seeing that one there. This will afford us the opportunity to fix this corner. It's all meffed up. I just pray that I got the right size transformer to slide in that hole. I think I do, though. Pretty sure. The last one didn't want to come out. It fought to the very end. I had to drill the screw out because it's stripped. It didn't want to play. Well, now we've got ourselves an empty hole in the middle of our box. Clean enough for now. I'll pull the towel up here in a second and shake it out, but I want to talk about what we're going to do next. So now we've got ourselves pretty much an empty space. At any and all times that I can get rid of these shitty bridges that are in these old boxes, I can. Now, this amp was one of the first ones I went through way back when, like 1.5 million years ago. And since we went through this thing in the last 8 years, 7 years, since I was in this thing last, we've come a long ways in technology. Now, the power wire upgrades and all that stuff over here, that's great. But as far as getting the current rectified from AC to DC, we've come a long ways. You guys have seen me use these before. This is a 200 amp 1200 volt solid bridge rectifier, or 1600 volt, pardon me. 200 amp 1600 volt submerged epoxy based rectifier. These actually really work. They're half the size. You can bolt them directly to the cabinet for the heat sink instead of having to put them on a heat sink, and it'll allow us to free up this space. Now, I've been kind of looking, and the only transformers I got around here that will do this job are the ICA 100 amp transformers. Now, the old X-Forces, like what I took out of here, were wound in-house by Carl and them guys way back when. Now, if we want to do a size comparison, this would be something like a 50 amp transformer. This is about roughly half the size, the old guy. So this is bigger and has more current potential. This guy here. And we can get it, as you can clearly see, if we shoehorn it just right and we hang our tongue out just right, we can get it to fit in the same spot. So the EPD electronic product design ones that I asked Peter to design for me to replace those were about the same size, but man, I've seen, I ran a 16 pill off of 2 of those. And then we ran a 24 pill off of 2 of it, and then we ran 32 off of 2 of them. They're like the little engine that could, they just keep on giving. So this affords us the opportunity. Here, I'll show you another perspective of this too for size. I feel incredibly cluttered in here today, I don't know why. It's probably because the towel's a little bit smaller. Let me set that up for you. And we'll set this up like this. This system's a little bit taller, but this is almost double the thickness. When we load tested these in the past, I did a YouTube video about this a millennia ago, literally like 8 years ago. We found that these were about a 65 amp to a 70 amp load, these transformers. These, on the other hand, this is kind of cool. If you learn the color code for this, so let's see, if we take blue and a white, so we hook up to the blue and the white on our primary side, that'll get us 11.5 volts rectified, okay, pre-rectified. Now if we take the white and the black wire, these 2 leads, it'll get us 13 volts. And the way we're going to run it is white and yellow, this here, okay. Get us the most bang for our buck at 14.5 volts at 100 amps, these 2 leads. So then we take the 14.5 and we're going to run that through the old Geekulator, and we know we're going to take 14.5 and we're going to times that by 1.45, and that's going to get us roughly 21 volts at float, so 17 volts in operation, roughly. And if that's too high, all we got to do is change the taps. So that's where we're headed next. Time to get rid of this. And let's see if we could do something a little bit better here. So we got the old rectum fryer out. Used to sit like this. This thing, garbage. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to mount this like so. Now, the reason that we had to go in here and fight for half an hour to get the clear off of this, or the anodization, or whatever this coating is because it'll act as an insulator for the heat. So we want our bare metal to go against bare metal, right? So we'll mount this thing down, put some thermal schmoo on the bottom of this to bridge the gap. Actually, you know what? I'm going to polish that out some more. Hold on a second. I could tell when I put this down here, there's still a little too much clear on there to make sure that I was making good metal to metal contact. Don't worry, this will look beautiful when we're done. Have faith. So first we're going to mount our rectifier. I'm going to mount it like that, actually. Mount it down just like that. And then we'll get our transformers mounted in here real quick, and then we'll start wiring it. We are going to reutilize this breaker because now we know it was good. Bypassing this breaker. The breaker was trying to tell us there was a problem. That's all there is to it. So bypassing the breaker usually does not fix the problem. The breaker's like, hey numbnuts, we're shorted on one of our phases. Hence the reason that only one plug went shitty on us and not two. Now listen, he asked the question, so I've got to answer this publicly. The customer said, well, wouldn't it be better if we just put those LED modules in there, the little light switch modules? And I went, hell no. We could be like everybody else and put these little super night LED 30 amp 12 volt drivers in here, or we could have the power of iron. There are switch modules out there, because I've done many instructional videos on the LED switch modules. How to gang them together, how to hook them up, how to tie the voltage together so that you can use an external voltage potentiometer as your reference control. I've covered all of that in many videos. And in my opinion, the iron is able to produce more amperage faster. It can be done. I mean, this guy right here doesn't care what this costs. He wants to have the best of how it's going to work. I'm like, okay, we can make that happen. I knew I had the transformers here. I've got 10 of them things here. They come from APC battery backups. I got the 35, the 50 amp, and the hundreds. Well, 200 amps is way overkill for this little 10 pill. Like, way overkill. Okay? But, I mean, is it really? No, it's right on the borderline. And so when we say way overkill, we know that the iron core supplies are going to be able to put out like 130 amps, 140 amps a piece. So we're building him like a 280 amp supply into this thing. So we have to think, these 4 transistors fully saturated are going to pull about 100 amps. This is going to pull about 100 amps. So we're looking for about 100 or 230 amps-ish worth of supply. So we can compensate by that by coming high in voltage and then under operation letting it sag. Because remember, this is a non-regulated supply. People get really hung up on that. I've noticed. I've been dealing with that a lot here lately, where people are really, really hung up. Well, you know, my plate volts are dropping by 200 volts. That doesn't seem right. It should stay rock solid. It's never going to stay rock solid, not unless you regulate it. It's an unregulated supply. This is an unregulated supply, so our voltage is going to drift up there. It's going to drift up to 18 something. Now we're probably going to put it on the lower tap to try it out. We'll probably put it on the 13 volt tap, which will get us like 18.5 volts post rectification, roughly. 18.3. Post rectification underneath the load, it will drop. And it's going to drop significantly. It's going to come down a couple volts. Probably down around 14. Got big honking electrolytics. Now, in my opinion, that's not a honking electrolytic. This is. This is a 330 farad electrolytic. This is a supercapacitor. We take 3 of these and tie them in series. We're going to have way more capacitance for filtering than these big ass cans. We've come a lot farther in technology since I worked on this box last. This was just a blip on some dude's radar back in the day. Here's another idea. We've got these little micro supercapacitors. So I could literally take 1, 2, 3 of these. 1, well, I should probably use 4. 2, 3, and 4 of these caps and do the same job. These are 1 farad 5 volt electrolytics. Super dense power. What do we mean by dense? That's the term that we're using to describe the capacitor's ability to hold and discharge current over size. These are not as dense of a source of power or filter versus these little guys. Now, I would use these, but I bought these for testing. And what do I mean by testing? I'm going to go put them in something and beat the holy shit out of them and see how they last. I know this is going to work. It is tried. It is true. It is tested of time. But that does not mean that we need to turn our eyes to what is coming up or out of the electronics industry today. We need to turn our eyes away from that and say, well, it's been done this way for decades. We could stick 2 Meanwell 100 amp switchers in here to the tune of $490 a piece, and I go charge a guy $1,000 for 2 power supplies on top of everything else. So he's going to be in it. If we did those switchers, that's the only thing that's going to hold up to this kind of pressure inside this cabinet. Them little LED switchers, sorry. I've built with those. I choose not to build with them now for a reason. I understand that that's what everybody else uses. I get it. I don't worry about everybody else. I worry about me and my guys. And I'm not going to lie. I like heavy iron. I'm just very sentimental in that way, I guess. Okay, let's talk more do. Here we go. I almost did the holy of unholies, you guys. I might have almost let the smoke completely out of this thing. But then my brain caught up with my ass and my mouth. It made me think. Remember where we left off? I was going to use one bridge. I was going to sum the 2 transformers together at the bridge. You can't do that electrically, especially when you're running 220, because you got one phase of 110, 110 of them, one phase of the other 110. And if we sum those 2 together, these 2 are going to fight each other. But if we simply add one more bridge, we scooted this bridge down, put this one in that spot. All that simply does is says, guess what? This transformer's doing its thing. This transformer's doing its thing. The 2 universes can unite. So this is on a single phase of 110. This is on the other phase of 110. Split down the middle with a 0. That allows us to sum post rectification these little wires out to the rectifier, or out to the capacitor filter bank. So now I hooked up the black wire first off, and my voltage was way too high. It was like 22.5 volts not underneath load, which means it would be running at 17 something volts or 18 something volts underneath load, which is bad, especially taking into account these are $200 a piece Toshibas. Listen, it's not as bad as everybody thinks. RF parts this week is out. You know, I haven't checked this week. Let me walk over to the fuser and let's do this right now. 2879, enter. Out of stock, out of stock, out of stock. Okay. So I'm not going to look too like a big horse's ass if I come out there and say, they're still out of stock, guys. This guy is not falling. I have 600-700 of these in stock for repair at the moment. I just don't want to intentionally have to use them because of some stupid mental mistake of my own. Like volting the piss out of the transistors to get 2 more watts out of a solid state box. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. Dumb. So, needless to say, we're good to fly. Now, I did the math on these two little leads in my head, and I sit there and I think about it. Okay, so I got two leads of 6 gauge, or 10 gauge, over a foot, 200 amp worth of load. Let's say our input voltage is going to be 14 volts. Output voltage on one strand of wire is going to be 13.9. So if I had 2, remember, this has to pass 100 amps. This has to pass 100 amps, 105 amps per side. We have 4 times the amount of rated wire. Now, you guys know I like big wire, and I could have added a bunch more wire to this and it just would have cluttered up everything in here. And it's really not necessary. We added some pretty nice plastic sheathing to our wires to make them all look nice and pretty and organized. But at the end of the day, what we've got ourselves, oh yeah, 18.4 volts without a load. And how much AC ripple do we have? 0. Well, pardon me, floating between 0 and 0.001. 0. Means our filter caps are sufficient enough to suppress any AC leakage that might be coming from a rectifier bridge, which there is probably next to none. Okay. On to the next step. That's where we hook it up and we start determining what has gone wrong in the RF section, if anything. Yay! On we go. I'll be dipped in pickled dog poop. Look at that. Preamp's working. Sideband delay works. Turn the amp off. Now this is our primary on and off, you guys. We turn this to where it says off, OFF on it. High voltage caps bleed, or the filtration caps bleed out. Hello. And we're showing no powder. Really, it's not doing anything. Just showing her drive. Okay, so we got our 1,000 watt slug here on the right, 1,000 in RMS, and our 5 watt slug in reverse back from our bird 10,000 watt dummy load. So show you drive. Hello. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. Turn on our power supply. Turn on the amplifier. Hello. Got down. 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello. Got down. Hello. Got down. Okay. Our input tune. Hello. It's dropping. It's good. That's what we want. All right. So we're back here where we want to be. That shows me that the key-in transistor was popped. I fixed that. That was off. I just fixed it. It was off camera. So, pardon me, it wasn't working. Hooked it up. Key-in transistor wasn't working, so I went in and replaced that. Everything is working good. Went ahead and reattached the lid on the 2879 in the back corner. So now we're going to hit it with a little bit more drive. And we'll see if we have any heating in our combiner, or if we have any heating issues with this transistor here in the back corner. So put the amp in standby. Hello, audio. 120 watts of drive into it. Oh yeah, gone. Which is what we had expected it to do. Off the scale she went. So let's go ahead, we'll flip that up to 2x. So let's go on over here. Full deflection in the meter on the far right hand side is 2,000 watts peak. Hello. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello, come in. I don't hear the transformers humming. No one's mad. Everything's happy. Now I gotta move the camera here. Gotta come a little closer so I can get around the damn thing. I really, I mean, I just got this camera that we're using now. But cameras are changing so fast, you guys, it's crazy. I'm saving up my money. The production company is saving up our pennies. I want to get one that I can go back and I can hold in my hand. And it's got a way faster focus than this thing. Like, focus. Focus. See, it's still focused on the background. Focus. I want something with a better focus to it. I'm thinking the Blackmagic 6K is going to be the key. We'll see. Hello, audio. And what we're looking at is to see what our voltage is dipping to with a little bit of drive. Hello, audio. Hello. That's right at 2,000 watts. Now let me turn on a bench supply. And we'll bring the bench voltage up to about 14.8 volts, which will increase our drive a little bit coming out of the Striker 490. Hello, on the stop pig. Hello, on the stop pig. Hello, on the stop pig. Let's see, do we got a heating in our combiner? We do not. All of our transistors look evenly warm. That's good. Hello, on the stop pig. Hello. 1, 2. Now, this isn't a realistic test. Let's see, what's the variable power on this radio? It's that knob right there. Hello. 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 Okay, next stop, 2-pill. Let's drive it with some love. We'll bring that dead key up a little bit. We'll see if we can get this thing to have a little bit bigger of a maul. Because it's not really a realistic test to key it all the way down there at like 1 watt. Right now I'm putting into it, I think about 5 watts is what I got the Striker 490 set at for the top dead key, which isn't enough to realistically operate the thing. But we got to be careful what we choose to do because we still don't have any fans cooling anything. So transformers are making a little bit of heat, transistors are making heat, and there's no air moving across anything. So it's fun to watch all that swing. It really is. The top end of this thing should just right about be 2,500 watts. Right at about 2,500. And with 180 hitting it, we're seeing over 22, around 2,300 watts, and we're staying above 15 volts. I think we're going to get there. Hello. 1, 2. Hello. Hello. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Now, I've got over here a new signal generator that I bought. And the plan is to dial the signal generator in and then have a box that hooks up to all the different bench radios. So you guys don't have to listen to me go, hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. None of that bullshit anymore. Even though that's how I like to test, it's not actually the proper way to do things. I should just hit it with the signal generator with a known amount of saturation and 100% modulation. Over on this guy, driven into these, all these different radios, but that requires time. That requires a lot of time. So I got to build a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now with the D-Row radio, 7 radio switch box. I'm able to take that modulation and dump it into each one of the radios. So we just modulate the radio to 100%, we dump it into the amp, but that's not where we're at today. But that's coming soon to a theater near you. We're all going to enjoy it. It's going to take me up there another notch in standard quality. I can take these leads out of here now. Okay, before we go and do a carrier test on this, I think I need to figure out what I'm going to do for the rest of it, which is pretty much just aesthetics at this point. if we think back to the beginning of the video, and I'm still pulling frickin' hunks of styrofoam and packing peanuts out of stuff that's been lost everywhere. The lid has no fans. No fans at all. And I asked my guy, I said, dude, can I make this 110 volt fans instead of 12 volt? He says, well, yeah, man, do whatever you want. Just, I want my box to work again. Okay. Well, we got the box working again. It's obviously everything's working fine. I don't need to go in here and massage anything or change anything in here. But to finish it out, we got to put 6 fans. Well, actually what we should do is just put 4 in it, but it's got spots for 6, so we'll see what we come up with. Okay, let's go do that real quick. Oh, a piece of plexi in my eyeball. So, I was, you ever just have those moments as you're going through your day and you remember back to when you used to do something and you're like, God, this used to take forever. I just had one of those moments. I still got a little tiny piece of plexiglass in my eyeball. So we're gonna go with slow but high volume AC fans on this guy. Clean the schmutz off the cabinet. It had dirt or something on it. And there's not enough room on the inside. I mean, if I moved a couple things, I'm sure I could make room, but it's going to help the air collimate better, otherwise stack inside the box a little bit better. Anyhow, we're going to do this on the outside. We're going to put these fans on the outside, but I was making these plexiglass shields for on the inside to block off these 2 other vents because they're not really necessary. They just sit over the power supply, and that's 2 less fans generating noise. And you got to remember, we've only got what, a little slot at the back of the box that's that big, like that big, that we're allowed to get air out of. So at a certain point you can put the big old nasty fans on this thing, and don't ask me to make that noise again. Just don't do it, guys. Put them big old gnarly fans on the top of this thing or on the inside of this thing, and all we're doing is making noise because the fans are turning, but we run into this thing called pressure cavitation. I guess it'd be technically back pressure cavitation that takes place. So you end up having more air loss and less volume because these fans aren't really set up to be a compressor style fan. Okay, it's not like a squirrel blower or rotary cage, or these things aren't designed to have a ton of back pressure on them, right? So we end up not being able to move as much air through the cabinet as simply just removing 2 of the fans. You guys remember back when we used to put like 6 fans on a little 24 pill case? You get all 4 of them or all 6 of those fans just sitting there turning. Was it not only incredibly loud and annoying, but you go and put a piece of paper on top of the box and the paper would float. Well, that phenomenon is the back pressure cavitation that's taking place. And it makes the fans turn faster than what they're rated to do for their pitch grade. And then you have so much leakage that takes place by the air coming by the blades. The overpressure in the cabinet actually comes out around the edges of the fan and causes a significant problem as far as pressure is concerned. I'm afraid that's what we're going to run into here. Now, he wants to make this thing as quiet as possible. That's why I went with these fairly slow fans. But they still are going to move a mass volume amount of air. Let's see if I can get this to plug in and not electrocute myself here. That's it. Okay. Sometimes big and slow is better than fast and loud and multiples of. Now this is an older amp. It's had all the ducting upgrades done to it. what I mean by that is in the back, there's 3 slots on the stock cabinet that don't go to anything. So air acts like water. It's always going to take the path of least resistance, right? Well, that path of least resistance is great, but if you've got 2 slots over here that the air can flow right out of, and the slot that you need the air to come out of underneath the heatsink's setting back on the cabinet this far, there's this big open space. So all the air is just running out of the box, nothing's going over the heatsink. So we've modified this one, and we can go back and look in the previous video of us blocking off these two slots. And then inside I took a piece of phenolic and I went up against the heatsink and came off the back of the heatsink all the way to the back of the cabinet. You guys are drifting down there into not being able to see what I was doing. Brought the phenolic so it comes all the way to the back of the cabinet, and then blocked it off this direction. So now all the air has to go over the components, wrap around everything, then has to exhaust across the heatsink. Well, we've effectively eliminated our exhaust portability by 2/3 by doing that, which is not a big deal. It's not. The stock fans in here were the Nevercools, the green labels or red label Evercools. Well, they turned really, really slow for the most part, depending on what voltage regulator was on the positive rail. So we're just making the best of what we had. Those fans ended up having issues, and now we're replacing them with these, which will last a lot longer. Now, what I was talking about when I came in on the beginning portion of this is I was sitting there and I have a sheet of plexi that's got a whole bunch of 4-hole patterns already drilled in it, and I just go over and I cut off a ream and make up my blanks for it. I was sitting there and I'm running my bandsaw. I'm cutting the blanks out, and then I went over and I went to the mother of all, father of all, big daddy of all sanders that I have, and I put a little bit finer grain belt on it so I wouldn't rip the shit out of the plexi. And I was just sitting there thinking to myself, I was like, man, you know, I can remember in the beginning when I first started in this game, I had a cheesy little drill press, I had a Harbor Freight sander, and I didn't have a bandsaw of any kind, or circular saw, or anything. And I remember I built this 300 amp power supply, and the whole front of it was plexiglass. I had to cut all of that by hand because I didn't have any money, you know, barely getting by. And I sat there by hand, slowly over a day and a half. All I had to do was make 2 cuts, one this way and one this way down this sheet of plexiglass. But it took 2 days because I was so afraid I was going to crack it because I only had one piece of plexi. Now I'm sitting over there, meow, meow, sand, 5 minutes done. I'm just grateful. Just made me sit there for a minute and I'm like, man, am I grateful. I've got all these cool ass, kick ass parts and tools and get to work on all of these fun projects, and people trust me with all this stuff, and all their time and all their, just grateful. You know, had nothing when we started, and now people come over here and are like, my God, look at all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, well, it's needed. Adulting. I'm talking about being an adult. And that even comes down to answering the phone. Now, I'm getting spoiled in my old age to where I don't answer my phone on Saturday or Sunday. But Monday through Friday, I do my honest God effort to return every phone call. It blows my mind that there are builders out there that don't return phone calls. You don't know how often I hear that. Man, I tried to call so-and-so, and they wouldn't even answer their phone. How do you stay in business if you don't answer your phone? Now, I haven't taken any work on in, well, we're coming up on almost 2 years now. And I'm just now getting myself to where I feel comfortable to where I can take on new repairs. in September, maybe. Most likely, taking into account how many people I've told that to. But think about that for a second. How do you stay in business? I mean, these are other builders. I don't care. It's their business. If they don't want to answer their phones and get work, hey, so be it. We got one guy out there. His first name starts with a C. Incredibly brilliant guy. Very, very smart. Got nothing but love and respect for the man. But damn it, he don't answer his phone. Like, not ever. So then he comes out with some new cool kick-ass product that we all love, and then we try to recommend him to people to go buy this product from him, and then they can't get a hold of him. Makes no sense. Makes no sense whatsoever. Or you could be like other people in this business that are really big, and they've got a whole bunch of staff, but nobody cares, or it seems like some of the people there don't care that much, and you're spending your whole day pulling what little hair you have left out of your head trying to get caught up on the things that weren't done right. I don't know. I had this moment. I had a moment where I was like, damn, dude. I get up every day. I get to do whatever I want all day long, work on fun projects like this all the time, get to work on the things I want to do, and then go to bed. And then get up and do the whole thing over again the next day. There, bro. Oh, that one's not orientated just right. I don't know. Just had that moment where I felt really lucky. It's called Don't Be Arrogant. Be grateful. And don't be a dick. Don't be a dick. So, as I'm sure you guys have made the observation, as I've been working on this thing, the stock strain relief on this thing will not stay in the cabinet. Will not. Now, I don't know about you, but I've had people tell me that killing your customers or burning their houses down from electrical issues is usually a bad way to keep customers. So we can take a hot minute, and I've removed this. This is an old piece of insulation jacket, and then this is the old strain relief. Let's throw those away. And then we fitted into here a brand new liquid tight connector. Come on, go around. You around it. There you go. Brand new liquid tight connector. And we've disconnected our power plug. So now we'll thread our strain relief jaws. Don't be that kind of girl. It's gonna be that kind of girl. It's gonna be a snitch. It is a snitch. Oh, this is gonna take half hour. Okay, I'll be right back. I'll be right back. There. Fixed it. Yay, BBI. Figured out how to put a strain relief on. Hear that lack of no sound? That's me patting myself on the back for doing the most basic electrical thing. Okay, let's put the power plug back on. The customer said to me the weirdest thing. He's like, no, I gotta make sure I get that exact power plug back. Okay. You got it, brother. I find that kind of odd because, like, what do I need it for? We got Home Depots here. This power plug is not unique, special. But I get his point. He didn't want me to change out the plug and then send it back with a different plug on it. And I went on to explain to him I've got a gang box over here. I've got like a 100 amp 220 drop cable that's flexible like this. It's 6 lead, or it's a 6 gauge triplex. I call it baloney cable. I use it on job sites to hook up portable offices and stuff. Anyhow, I have that hardwired in through a knockdown box. And then on the end of that, I've got a metal knockdown box. And then I literally went to Home Depot and bought every single 220 power plug they had in that joint. And then hooked a connector up to it. So no matter what came in here, unless I had to change a strain relief or something like this, I could just simply walk over and plug it in and not have to change out a power plug or build a bunch of adapters or anything. That did not bite into anything. That's not right. It's not right, I say. Well, proper indexing is going to be this way, just like that. There you go. Cool. Now I'll put some pinch pressure on it. It's got a little slice and a little thumb and a groove. That's got a little slice and a little thumb and a groove. Start this, start this. Make sure it's strain relieved up inside the plug. Okay. Squish this son of a bitch till it's tight. Till it's tight. Okay. Now to all the little small details, which we're getting down towards the tail end of this thing. I got a busted out PIM nut here. I got one with a broken screw in it over here. So let's put some crush nuts in this thing, some PIM nuts, and let's get this fixed. Okay, so reverting back to the very beginning of the video. We don't pack with packing peanuts. And what's the other thing that we don't do? We don't ever, never, ever, do we never, ever, ever ship our amplifier without all the screws in it. Ever, never do we, never, ever, never do we, ever, ever. Never ever do we ever ever never never do it. Never. Okay, so what we got is our two pieces of plexiglass, our 4 fan leads. Of course, they run on 110. So that comes down this nylon jacketed cable. And it comes down, one goes to ground, the other one goes to the positive pole. Not positive pole, but the 110. So remember, when we go to close our lid, we tuck our wire to the front. Tuck our wire to the front. We tuck the power wire to the front, just so you know. Okay? That's it. It's way quieter than what it was. Check this out. What I'm showing you is that we're not overpressuring the cabinet, because if this thing had back pressure cavitation going on, this paper would just dance. Okay? So we've got good air going in. So we got the right amount of air going in for our exhaust port on the back. Straight down and in. Okay, well, I want to run it with a 2-pill. I want to hit it with like 130-ish watts, or like, 230-ish watts, which is about the maximum amount of drive. Because remember, we have that one transistor that I had to put the lid on in the bag. I used a very specific kind of epoxy for that. The transistor was still good, just the lid came off. So I want to test that underneath full chooch and see what we get. But this is good. This is good. Now remember, this is the amp off, amp on, operate, SSB delay. Now remember, it's not biased for sideband and preamp, okay? So this is, I'm gonna change the label on this. I'll put on, off on here, even though it's on the switch. And then we're gonna change this to operate standby, okay? Simple, simple, simple. Okay, so here we go. Got the bench 2 pill, getting driven by the bench 2950. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna focus on power at this point. Nothing else. So going left to right, 5-watt slug in reverse, then our average element of 1000 and our forward element in peak. So let me turn this thing into standby. Hello, right at about 200 watts of drive. Now remember what I said, to run this thing low is not a real test. So we're going to be starting from a 400 watt carrier, roughly. So let's go ahead and we're going to take this up to 2x. So now when the needle moves fully to the right, that's 2000 watts of power. Peak envelope, of course. We're making it disappear. So now we're going to go down to 5x. The 10's 1000, the 20 is 2, the 30 is 3. We're not going to see anything more than that is 3000 watts. So we're going to add 2 zeros to that middle scale. 1, 2, 1, 2, That's from a 400 watt dead carrier. I suggest you run your carrier around 300 to 350, period. And then let it go from there. Well, this took a lot longer to get done than I thought. I had multiple other projects that I was working on while working on this. And I kind of mentioned that yesterday in my just checking in video. I've got several amplifiers I'm working on all at once over here. And I kind of squeezed this one in between. I had to order the extra rectifier bridge that was in here. I only had one in the shop. I thought I had 4. I got a little low on my inventory. So I want to give you an idea of volume on the fans, because I know my friend that's actually owns this amp, he's a little snicky about this. So here we are, a foot away from the box. Here we are at 2 feet away from the box. Here we are at 3 feet away from the box. Here we are at 4 feet away from the box. Let's put this back on the chest, and I apologize for the sound noise of me moving the microphone around. Just wanted to give you a sound level reference. So it makes 2600 peak power, which is what it's supposed to do. Got the voltage dialed in perfectly so the transistors aren't getting overvolted. Of course, I could have cheated. I could have put the transformers on their top tap and made the transistors run at 17.5 volts. And within 3 months, he would have been calling me saying he popped a pill. We don't want that. That's not something that we're striving for. Now, I've got a couple of these fans on my LD MOS box. Okay, and they work really good. They move the right amount of air that we need. I built a box, and I've shown this in 2 or 3 different videos. I built a separate box that sits on top of that amp. It's about yay high. It sits around the fans. On the inside of that box, it's a wrapped horn design. Kind of demonstrated the idea behind this with the LD-MOS 4 transistor amplifier. And then I think I showed the shroud. I call it a shroud. It's basically a wrapped horn design. Let me lift it off the top of my LD-MOS amplifier. It looks like this. And the way it works is it sits just like this on top of my LD-MOS box. The whole idea is the fans sit inside this opening. And the idea is to catch the blade noise, the short, small waveform of the blade noise. So this is your total air intake. My air flows in through this opening, wraps around, this dramatically cuts down the blade noise to more like just rushing air versus hearing the high-pitched whine of the fans if you think it's that high pitch of a whine. That might be something you want to think about constructing. You can make it out of literally a cardboard box. But the foam inside traps the blade noise. It grabs those short waveforms, the high-pitched noise, and it absorbs that energy. Because that's all sound is energy transferred to the air. A much lower frequency than RF. So I could see that we could build another small box that goes over the top of this to catch it and make it whisper quiet for you in your studio if you'd like, Richard. You let me know. I can fab something up for you pretty quick. I just bang it together with some aluminum in the box break over here, and I'll put some hush mat on the inside of it and some crate foam on the inside. Those long spikes make a difference. It really does. So that's that. Gentlemen, this is it. This is the end of this story for this box. Now to call my international shipping company that I use, and it's not UPS or FedEx. They're going to come pick it up on Monday. They're going to take it to their warehouse. They're going to build a custom crate for it. Because it's got such off-centered weight, I've given up on using UPS or FedEx for any of the bigger stuff. The SP220s, the Henrys, the Drakes, all of the old stuff. It just gets smashed. And then I'm stuck doing the work twice. So actually 3 times the amount of work, because now I got to do the claim and then I got to replace the unit. So this is going to go on my shipping company, and it's going to go inside of a wood crate and go home. So on that note, gentlemen, appreciate y'all tuning in to watch this little talk show. Hopefully somebody learned something out there a little bit from this. Yeah, appreciate every single one of you guys. Stay humble, be happy, let's enjoy the hobby together. Thanks to each and every single one of you. I'll see you. Bye-bye. Okay, so here we go. Got the Bench 2 pill getting driven by the Bench 2950. So all we're going to do is we're going to focus on power at this point. Nothing else. So going left to right, 5-watt slug in reverse, then our average element of 1,000 and our forward element in peak. So let me turn